Buona serata, my little picciolinis. How are you? I am tired. It's early in the morning on Tuesday morning, Monday night. So I'm still living Monday, but it's technically Tuesday. We're here for our anchor message. I did not get to finish the post before I went to work today. So I got the picture taken and I was writing, but I didn't get to finish writing before I had to go to work. I had chores and stuff to do around the house that I still didn't finish, but I will catch up soon. I feel just like I'm just running from thing to thing the last couple of weeks. And Passover and Easter are both this week too, plus the full moon. We'll have a workshop for that. So yeah, I'm just trying to keep up. So y'all help me out. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, emoji. Do anything you can to get these videos out in the world. I am just like burning the midnight oil, trying to keep this thing going. Like this channel and the content creation and sharing it all, it's basically a full-time job. And then I have my actual full-time job, and then the spiritual practice to maintain so that I can be a channel for the messages. And I love doing it. I just would love to grow the channel and maybe monetize and grow my tarot business outside of this as well, and do less restauranting and more channeling and things for you guys, and create more content and create workshops and things like that, and finish my deck and publish that. So yes, liking this video will help me just by getting the video out there and getting me in the algorithms. It helps a lot. Sometimes, I start uploading these videos and they don't make it in for the day that I'm trying to get it uploaded on. And that kind of dings me with the algorithms. But yeah, sometimes the upload just takes forever. So that kind of happened today. And so it just put me behind on everything. But we're catching up now. And so, yeah, so I didn't fully get to write this out. Before. I'm just going to talk about it now. So I guess we'll just dive in. So we have from the Wild Unknown Archetypes. Oh, by the way, our anchor message for the week is taking a look at the spiritual lessons that we'll be working with, like in Soul School for the week. On Sunday nights, I do the energy oracle forecast for the week. And that gives us a look at like the energetic weather that we'll be living under. And then we hone in on Mondays and look at like the lessons for the week. So we pull from the archetypes and the tarot. And so from the Wild Unknown Archetypes, we got the Castle. We got Kairos. And we got the Desert, which I think is very fitting for this week. And then underneath the Castle, we got Queen of Swords. Underneath Kairos, we got the World. And underneath Desert, we got the Queen of Pentacles. Have you guys noticed how for the past couple of months, we have been visited by the queens and the feminine kings and the kings, like over and over and over again? It's just interesting too, because it's not like we, like you don't necessarily pull court cards out with like every reading every time. But definitely every week we've been visited by like prominent characters. So I feel like that means that there's major character development in our story. And I feel like maybe there's other people in play, even though they may not be very clear to us like who they are yet. But definitely there's like these, I don't know, energetic relationships playing out. Let's just put it that way. So I want to talk about this in pairs again, like we did the other day. The castle coming out with Queen of Swords, I feel like speaks to this energy of, like, the Queen of Swords has come through a lot in her life. She has learned to be very wise. She, like, see this Queen of Swords, she's on the lookout. Like, she has eyes wide open. You don't get things past the Queen of Swords. She sees through the bullshit. She does not suffer fools lightly. She doesn't have patience for bullshit. She'll call a motherfucker out. She is hard to win her trust. The Queen of Swords can come off a bit sharp, maybe even cold or distant. But once you get the Queen of Swords trust and you get on her good side, then it's like you're good as gold. Like, she's your number one, like, ally. But the Queen of Swords, through her wisdom, through her experience, has learned not to be, has learned to be discerning. And so I feel like, the Queen of Swords is kind of like in her castle right now. And the castle is representative of, in this regard, the castle is sort of a fortification where the queen is held up in her castle, in her domain. And I like that the boundaries around this castle are made with pearls. Sorry, I'm seeing like one of the sacred geometric shapes of the feminine vessel that is built to create structure and boundary around the masculine energy in the supernal level, where it's like pure masculine force is just raw, unadulterated energy with no shape, no direction, no container, right? It's just wild and out of control. Like men with no direction, right? And then the supernal feminine energy is like the vessel, the container, the womb that catches all that energy and gives it structure and shape and edges and boundaries. So it looks as though like the boundaries that this queen has built around herself have been built upon the wisdom that she's earned over time, these pearls of wisdom. But the castle, I think in a way we become wise to sort of fortify ourselves where like only love can enter. And we decide what we allow in and what we allow into our thoughts and into our mindset and into our perceptions and into our views and literally into our house, right? Like, I feel like I have my own place, right, that I pay for, and no one lives here and nobody can come across my threshold and project hate or fear or judgment on me. This is my fortress of love, and only love may enter here, and fear is not coming through these doors. So those who are coming through my door are not allowed to project their fears on me. And there's protection around my house to discourage anyone with ill will or intent from coming in. However, the castle can become isolating. The walls can be too high and too thick. They can become defense mechanisms, right? The Queen of Swords, gone to the shadow side of that, can be overly, have overly developed defense mechanisms, can keep people at a distance, can be avoidant, can have fears of intimacy, right? So we want to have a balance. We don't want to have walls so thick that we are pushing people away or holding everybody at a distance or keeping out opportunity or love. but we want to be wise and balanced about this at the same time. So I feel like almost like the queen has just come up to her little tower here. Like, see how it's like this hot air balloon of like a big birdhouse, like coming up even from out of the tops of the trees. I feel like she's climbed up out of the castle, looking up out of those, like, you know, where the lookouts are at the top of the castle, where the little weird shapes are, squares. Like, that's where she is. She's up there and she's like on the lookout, right? Are there any threats coming? Are there any opportunities? Is there word from town? Like, she's just kind of checking out the scene. So I feel like we're a little bit like kind of weary right now and wary. We're like, okay, what, like, I'm tired. I've been through a lot. I've experienced a lot. Lots coming at me. I'm just trying to like get a lay of the land. Because I feel like in context with these other cards, I'm going to skip the middle ones for now and jump right to desert. I feel like Queen of Swords has spent a lot of time in the desert. And she's just like, oh my gosh, is there any hope? Is there anything good coming in the distance? Or is it all just more desert and threat and tricks? The desert, it's like this time in the wilderness where it feels like there's little pleasure, little fulfillment, very little respite or relief. You know, it's just like you're just like constantly striving and going, and it looks like there's just no end in sight. And it's very isolating and very lonely in the desert. And it's harsh conditions. And it's so funny because this week is like the kind of final stretch of the Lent season where we fast in remembrance and solidarity with Christ in the desert. And Jesus went out into the desert to fast and to break his flesh, to really get into that mode of full-on connection to source, where you're like, I'm going to read the book, but it talks about like almost delusional with mirages. It's like emptying the vessel so that you can be a channel for those visions and those prophecies to come through. It's like we're kind of like, that's what Jesus did. He went out into the desert so he could go through that alone time, so he could really like go deep into the meditations. And while he was out there fasting, that's when the opponent kept facing, you know, coming to tempt him with fear, with lack, with doubt, with lust, with power, with, you know, with promises of, hey, you know, you can get out of this. It can be easy. You know, you just have to do these things and people will listen to you, you know? So this week, it's like, if you're feeling extra challenged, if you're feeling extra raw, extra tired, extra drained of your energy, it's we're in this moment of Lent and that culmination of the fast, you know, where you're at this delusional level of tiredness and you've just been run ragged and run dry out in these harsh conditions and isolated. But this is when the real insights, the real breakthroughs can happen. You know, when you're outside of your comfort zone and you're outside of your normal realm of thinking. It's like when you're triggered the most, or when you're the most tired, or when you're the most heartbroken. It's like, it's always those times where you have the biggest insights, the biggest epiphanies, where you can take all of that charged energy and shift it and turn it into like the motivation of like an unstoppable force, right? That's when we do that spiritual alchemy. And it's like, even though it feels like we're destitute and like we're high and dry and nothing, it's like we're pulling blood from a stone and none of our efforts are paying off. It just feels like, oh my God, like I'm just gonna like beat my head against the wall. things are better than they seem, because Queen of Pentacles is underneath the desert. Almost like she's coming in with reinforcements. Look, it's like this is a basket of flowers, but it almost reminds me of like a tray of like a breakfast in bed or something. It's like she's like, here, I've got supplies, I've got reinforcements. But the Queen of Pentacles has everything she needs, and she has everything well in order and well under control. She's also able to take good care of herself and her surroundings and the people in them and her life. She's got it all under control. She's everything she needs, and she's flourishing, and she's like abundant and ripe with fertility, potential, and creativity. It's just this illusion. This is the part of the game we're in right now. This is the part of the avatar that we're facing off, is the desert moment. And so when this desert moment dissipates and the vision has like lifted and we're out of it, we're going to realize, oh my gosh, everything was a lot better off than I thought. It's just that I had to go through this moment where I was being, faced with myself and with my smaller self and with my shadow self. I needed to face off with that opponent, right? In order to really see how much of a Queen of Pentacles I really am, right? How you really are. You've got all the resources you need. You have everything that you need available to you now. It's all there and waiting. Like we said the other day, everything's in holding. It's right offset. We've got costumes, scenic, we've got wardrobe, we have stand-ins, we've got stunt doubles, we've got A-team, we've got our stars and our co-stars ready on standby. We're just waiting for the cue. Which brings me to Kairos, which is divine timing. The world is under divine timing. So I think that right now, even though it feels like we're in the desert, it feels like we're not equipped, it feels like we're inadequate, but really we're not. We're like, what's the holdup? What's happening? Why isn't this sort of like new chapter really like kicking off? What's keeping this gear from switching over? And with the world, with Kairos, I feel like the world is saying like, hey, look, you've come to the end of the cycle. Like, you've learned what you need to. You've got the wisdom. Right now, it's just a matter of timing. It's a matter of divine timing. It's a matter of waiting for the director to cue the background extras. The world is the end of all the archetypes in the major arcana that says you've learned what you've come here to learn, at least in this current cycle. You've come as far as you can with this lesson, and that it's come to a completion. And now with this level of mastery, like, you have earned your right to choose where you go from here. So it's like the hard part is over. You don't need to keep picking. Like, don't keep picking yourself apart, because that mentality is going to get you out of the state of fulfillment and having, and then you're going to be thinking from a state of lack and fear and doubt. Like, you're not, like, things aren't right. It won't be right until, right? We're there. We've arrived. We don't, like, it's not like we're not always evolving and always growing. But the big bulk of the work that was getting us prepared for what we needed to be prepared for is done. So don't keep second guessing yourself. Don't keep thinking like there's some big overhaul that has to happen before the next step can happen. You're there. It's just that divine timing is at play, and the parts and the pieces are moving into place. So don't get discouraged. Things are really good and they're unfolding. It's just we're waiting for like the final pieces to sort of like come into play, and for grapes to be ripe. So I'm going to read these out of the booklet. Finding a castle. Oh, there it is. I had it marked in the bookmark. Disappeared. Okay, the castle. Can you see. The palace, the penthouse, the fortress. It's no wonder fairy tales tell of sleeping princesses within castle walls. Like most archetypes, the castle is loaded with duality. It represents abundant riches, seductive fantasy, ornate wonders, and lavish adornments. Yet the walls are thick, cold, and shadowy. This card points to a tendency to hold on to possessions, quite possibly a literal home or position that project the image of achievement while the soul longs to run barefoot in the forest, leaving it all behind. At times we must settle down, yet the castle lulls us with its spell of materialism, and we fall asleep to our deepest dreams. The castle can be a motivating force, an enchanting goal to travel toward, but it is best not to linger within its walls of decadent deception for too long. That's another thing I wanted to mention. It's so funny because I'm in that same situation right now. It's like I'm having to work and work and work. And it's not even that we've had people leave our restaurant recently for like just good positive life changes. So we're short staffed, and so we're all working like more shifts than we usually do right now, and we're all just like so tired. And I feel really depleted because I haven't been able to go running through the forest like I like to. And I haven't gotten to really like keep up with my Kabbalah classes like I like to do. And it's so funny because just the pursuit of the bread that one needs to earn every day can so many times take all of the room up in our consciousness. And it really, our soul just feels starved so quickly. I mean, I know I need lots of spiritual replenishment to feel good. But yeah, so don't get so caught up in the material world, the mundane, just the comings and goings and the bookkeeping of it all, that you completely disconnect with what brings it all to life, what makes everything worth living for to begin with. When light, visiting your throne of power. When dark, stuckness, depression, spells, walls. Go deeper with Rachel White Reed's House, or Peter Bruegel's The Tower of Babel. Notice how castles are designed to keep things out. They defend, they separate. It is likely there is connection and community beyond its walls that will revitalize you. If this card appears with the king, the queen, or the maiden, know that you've entered into long-standing family dynamics that include property and power. Interesting, because the queen is here. It's just not from this deck. All right, Kairos. Mythic time and synchronicity. We have all had the experience of timelessness, of life beyond the ticking of the clock. It may be felt as time standing still, slow motion, or losing track of time on a walk or in a lovely conversation. This is known as mythic time, and it is the territory of Kairos. This card suggests that there is a secondary time continuum that goes beyond any earthly clocks and schedules. Within this nonlinear realm, we access divine timing. A single moment ripens with auspiciousness, and our actions change the trajectory of our whole life. Time becomes a living thing that watches over us and tells us precisely when to speak or act. When this card appears, it is all about patience and precision. No clock can guide you. Wait for the rush of inner knowing and not a moment longer. When light, alignment, ease in decisions and action. When dark, fighting against time. Go deeper. Felix Gonzalez Torres's untitled Perfect Lovers. It's untitled, but in parentheses it's titled Perfect Lovers. So I'm like, oh, is that really untitled? I don't know. The word evil comes from the root unripe. Consider that everything has a time of ripeness, when it becomes a nourishing fruit, sweet to the lips. Compare the Greek words of Chronos and Kairos. This will guide you to a better understanding of logos and mythos. And then let's read desert, and then we will be done. The drought, the wasteland, the badlands. The desert leaves us disoriented, desperate for direction, grasping for meaning, longing for solid ground. For endless miles, we are confronted with a lack of clarity and existential dread. We're thirsty, hungry, and pleading with life to get back to normal, to become animated by the simple pleasantries of day-to-day life. The desert offers no such comfort, and all must pass through it. If you can embrace the discomfort of the desert, knowing you will someday reach water again, you can tap into the potent energy of the landscape. Its lights are blindingly bright, and its darks terrifyingly deep, which makes for unbridled creativity and clairvoyant visions. Truths reside in the desert that otherwise remain hidden. The crows, the shadows, and the coyotes call surround you. Let the winds and sands work their deep magic, weary traveler. It's funny, I saw a pair of coyotes the other night on the way home from going out with a friend. And it's funny too because the crows were cawing this morning. And I don't know, I went into this vaudevillian depiction of my impression of a crow, and I was alone doing this to myself, but it was really funny. When in the throes of the desert, contemplate the following. You are not alone. You have more supplies with you than what you think. Oh my God, the queen. Water is very near. When light, surreal, strange, unexpected visions, silence. When dark, drying, deadening, disorienting, isolating. To go deeper, Frank Herbert's Dune, Barry Lopez, Desert Notes, Edward Abbey's Desert Solitaire. The desert is alive and pulsing with energy. Despite its desolate appearance, turn toward it rather than away from it. All right, you guys, I hope you have a good rest of your day. I am going to take a shower and eat dinner and go to sleep and then do it all again tomorrow. But tomorrow's my Friday, so I'm very excited. It's kind of my Friday because after that we have a Passover and the full moon workshop. But then I'm off. I have a moment to catch my breath. All right, y'all. Ciao.